Well, normally at 1 o'clock in the last few weeks with our coverage at Uncensored Arena, we have put it back a couple of hours, but of course we've been talking plenty of local footy over the last 6 to 7 weeks as we build up to all the leagues kicking off in around about a month's time. Last week on the show, we of course announced the first 6 inductees into the Locker Room Hall of Fame from the Southern Football League and also the Western Region Football League. We caught up with Ben Murphy and Brett Jacobs, who are going to be coaching the sides March 29. That's one for the local footy fans to put in your diary at Visy Park, all the metropolitan leagues going up against each other. We announced the winners of the $500 cashback voucher from Sports Support in Lockie McGee and also Heath Barnes for accumulating the most votes during the voting. We're also joined by the EDFL's Adam Papel and NFL media man Sam Zito to hear about the players included in the top 10 from the last 15 years, and they also provided a little insight into their respective leagues. Coming up on the show today, we're going to continue with the upcoming Metro Championships. We're going to have a catch-up with Denis Bicer, who's coach of the Eastern District Footy League, also the media manager of the Western Bulldogs, and also a man with St Kilda fans and all AFL fans will be very familiar with, the former Saints spearhead Jason Heatley, on their league's chances on March 29 and how their players have taken to the concept. Great to have Ben Charles, my co-host, in from sportsupport.com.au. Good to see you, Benny.
Yeah, great to be here, Brett. And just on those $500 vouchers, we haven't yet heard from Spotswood or from St Paul. So if someone wants to get in contact with us, jump on the website and put your details down.
Okay, because they're valid right through March, April, so I need to make the most of those.
They are, yeah. They'll run out at the end of April. So
now, it's one thing I'm going to do on Tuesday, running a local footy club, is start to get organised for round one, because Sports Support has got, who brings us the show every week here, it's got so many different things that you offer, but food, that is essential, particularly when you've got a home game, and most leagues, I think, are kicking off sort of that last weekend in March, or certainly that first weekend in April. Yeah,
definitely, and I mean, that's why those $500 vouchers could come in so important. You know, the food ordering service that we've got is one area that clubs really benefit from being a partner with Sports Support, and for anyone who's been a footy club administrator, they'll know the painstaking task of filling the canteen on a weekly basis. It's a huge task, it's a messy process, collate all the receipts at the end of the year and all of that stuff. So we developed a food buying group in conjunction with Campbell's Cash and Carry about 4 years ago, and it's quickly grown into a business that services about 250 clubs.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I can tell you, it's just convenient if you're a club out there, because you can get everything delivered, order online, deliver, pay an invoice in 7 days. And gee, I reckon once people actually go online and actually scan through all the products, they'll like the pricing.
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, our buying power affords us the I suppose, the flexibility of having some really, really sharp prices on there, and we often find that sometimes our prices are actually better than what Campbell's have got on the shelf, and they use us as a bit of a sports buying, I suppose, a power group, if you like, and we then obviously pass that on to all the clubs.
Okay, so obviously people just need to log on, sportsupport.com.au. Do check it out if you're looking at different suppliers and you're looking to lock in something for 2014. Any form of credit checks on clubs who join?
No, there's not. There's just a registration page there. It takes about 45 seconds to fill in, just some basic details of where we deliver to, the contact phone numbers and all that sort of stuff. You just fill it in once, and we then have a rolling invoice payment structure. So invoice just needs to be paid prior to our next delivery. So you get a little bit of time up your sleeve to pay it as well.
And it's everything, Ben. It's everything to do with food. There's not, I think, if people went through it, there's not one thing left out from the food itself to what the food's going to be put in.
Yeah, no, it is. It's hot dogs, chips, dim sims, coffee cups, and the stirrers that go into coffee cups. There's the whole range. There's about 500 odd products, and we deliver them all.
All right, all at your front door. So no-brainer. Sportsupport.com.au. Now, Benny, the Locker Room Facebook page, it's ramped up again. A lot of activity in the last 6 or 7 weeks. Last week, as I mentioned, we featured the WRFL and the SFL. 6 players were inducted into the Locker Room Hall of Fame. All inductees will be guests, of course, of AFL Victoria on that big day on March 29 out at Visy Park. And the player with the most votes scoring $500 in Sports Support vouchers for their club. So worth getting on board.
Yeah. No, look, you're not wrong about the interest that increased with the competition, Brett. Last week, we had a little over 200 votes from about 90 odd posters. This week, we had a tick under 300 participants who cast over 500 votes. So that was just to find the best 6 from the Northern Footy League and the EDFL. So huge amount of support for these leagues, and a number of ex-AFL players obviously playing in all divisions every week.
Yeah, speaking of a few of those, we've had obviously a few of them on the program the last few weeks. Lance Whitnell, of course, who was a good story. He's going to be joining the coaching ranks in 2014. I think was it Coburg?
Glenroy.
Glenroy. I knew it was very close out in the northern part. But gee, it's amazing. I've been looking through sort of the transfers and players swapping clubs and the amount of AFL clubs. And there are some clubs now with multiple ex-AFL players jumping on board.
Yeah, well, as Lance sort of alluded to when he was on the other week, there's EDFL probably have a scattering of players in every single team that's in First Division, which I think that's amazing. You know, the talent that's peeled back to the EDFL, players like Chris Johnson, Mel Michael, Brodie Holland, Adam McPhee, they've all had stints at playing or coaching in the EDFL, and this year it's going to serve up a few more players as well.
Yeah, very nice indeed. We might just remind people, Benny, for those who might have missed one of the shows, how the Locker Room Hall of Fame actually works and why we're actually doing it.
Yeah, certainly. Look, the Vic Metro Championships, it's a format that's been restructured for the first time in 15 years. So every suburban football league is taking part. Last week we focused focused on the Southern Footy League, and they'll be taking on the Western Region Footy League in the first game. This week we'll obviously be touching on the EFL and the VAFA, but we'll also be focusing on the Eastern Districts and the Northern Footy League and naming the top 3 according to the voters from the local locker room. So the VAFA has plenty of history in the Victorian representative sides and how they sort of go about it. We wanted to give the guys at suburban leagues just that may have missed out on a bit of rep footy just a chance to become an unofficial Hall of Famer and just become part of the local locker room scene.
Okay, so voting simply occurs by heading to sportsupport.com.au. You just click on the Facebook link. You can vote for your top 3 in the comments section, and then we're going to compile the 18 Locker Room Hall of Fame members from right across metropolitan footy. The winners are going to be announced the following week. The top 3 will be guests of AFL Victoria at the Metro Champs. That's March 29 at Visy Park, and you can join the local Locker Rooms Hall of Fame, and the player with the most votes wins $500 worth of vouchers for sports support for their club of choice. So quite simple. Yeah,
it's very simple. So, last week we had a shortlist there from the Northern Footy League and the EDFL. So later on in the show, we'll be announcing the next 6 inductees that will go into the local Locker Room Hall of Fame. But before we do that, we're joined by one of the coaches of the clash of the EDFL and the Northern Footy League. We have first with us Denis Bicer, the coach of the Essendon District Footy League. Thanks for joining us, Denis.
Problem at all, guys. Sorry, I'm crammed in on a Manly ferry, so pardon the noise, but happy to be with you guys.
A Manly ferry. Is it as good a day in Sydney as it is in Melbourne, because it's a perler down here, Denis?
It's wonderful up here. It's about 27 degrees, and it's a wonderful place.
Now, before we get started, mate, you feature in the EDFL Top 10, mate. You've accumulated quite a few votes. You've had a few of the Greenvale faithful getting behind you, have you?
I'm not sure if I have. I'd be very thankful to be an unofficial Hall of Famer if that's the way it goes, but not sure, to be honest.
What we've noticed, Denis, in talking to a few of the coaches, I mean, this concept is fantastic, and it seems like right around the leagues, the players have been quite receptive. How have you found that with your players, with the whole concept of playing this big day on March 29?
We've got a very passionate bunch in the EDFL, and it's just a great talking point, isn't it? There's a lot of conjecture around who's graced our leagues and who's played well over the years, and there's just so many to count, especially ones that go beyond that 10 that was listed there. But we're looking at how guys have, adjusted to our rep footy. We've had a really good response, and looking forward to getting stuck into it in a couple of weeks.
Mate, some really big names running around the EDFL, of course, and many of the XAFL players made themselves available for the 29th, so either in a playing or assistant coaching capacity.
They have, and I think there's a bit of a misconception in that there are a lot of XAFL players, but in the squad there's not a whole heap, mostly because they're at the end of their careers or they're coaching. But we're really thrilled to have someone of the calibre of Dale Morris on board, as well as Matty Egan, who just alone with their experience will add a lot to our group.
And trying to scout the opposition, Denis, obviously you're focused on getting this squad together and making sure that gels. I mean, how much do you know about the Northern Footy League, or how much work do you actually put into getting to know what they're about?
I think would be irresponsible if we didn't put some work in. I think it's a league that's grown enormously over the last 5 years and retaining and attracting first place and then retaining quality players from the VFL and the AFL. They're a team that values the contest, and we've got to be prepared for that. And, we're dealing with a league that's just come that really improved a lot over the past 5 years, as I said.
I think it's great that you've gone down the path of the local player and the younger player rather than the XAFL at the end of their tether, and they're probably going to get a whole lot out of that. Is there anybody who's really caught your eye?
There are a lot, actually, from the weekend. I won't go through individual names, but if we're working on the quality of the session, then we've started off really well. We've got a group that is really keen to just jump to it and represent the league as best as they can, and they're all passionate people, they're all extremely competitive people, and got a little bit of a hatred of being beaten. So I think that holds us in good stead, provided we get everything else right.
Denis, the other hat you wear, because I get all your media releases during the week from the Western Bulldogs, of course. They're doing a lot of work, aren't they, with grassroots clubs and footy out in the area? Can you just give us a little bit of an insight into that?
Absolutely. I think the Western Bulldogs unashamedly refer to themselves as a community club of the AFL, and they do a mountain of work with the local. They've got a great partnership with the WRFL, but local. They do a host of work with the community. So. I think every club in isolation really values that part of their organisation and giving back to the local league and to keep people engaged with footy. So, the Western Bulldogs are just one of those clubs.
It's great. I think it's fantastic. The Western Bulldogs have taken that initiative and they've gone out and it's been really, really well received from all reports. You being a product of the Greenvale machine yourself, you have polled very well, as we did discuss at the start. And how do you think they're going to shape up, and do you think that $500 voucher may go to Greenvale if it's successful enough?
I think they'd be pretty happy if they got the voucher. Having said that, there's a bit of a changing of guard with Smokey McPhee taking over from Anthony Rock, but I think they see the game the same way, so I don't think there'll be a huge amount of adjustments. They've been able to recruit a couple of good players. And Jacob Thompson, I think people don't realise, having him back from a knee reconstruction, how important he'll be to the side's makeup. So, they're shaping up for another successful year. but there's been another 3 or 4 sides around them that have drafted, recruited really heavily. And it just looks like another cracking season of EDFL footy.
Great stuff, Denis. Really appreciate you coming on. All the best with the EDFL, the Bulldogs for a big 2014. Enjoy the Manly Ferry, and we look forward to seeing you in action March 29 out there at Visy Park.
Pleasure, lads. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for the time.
Denis Bicer there, coach of the Essendon District Footy League, and also looks after the media department down at the Western Bulldogs. He's got his hands full. We mentioned, of course, that the EDFL are taking on the Northern Football League, and great to welcome, a former Saint. He's been on a fair footy journey, Jason Heatley, and he's going to be coaching the Northern Footy League. Jason, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys.
Nice to talk to you. I mean, you did play, as I mentioned, you've been on a bit of a footy journey, Jason, but you did play in the old Diamond Valley Footy League in the early 90s?
Yeah, certainly did. I represented the North Heidelberg Football Club, so that goes back a good 20 or so years ago now.
Yeah, and you've also played in the Waffle. You've also had stints at Tasmania and a few other different places. What's the biggest thing that you've seen change in local footy and across all those 3 decades?
Oh, look, certainly coming back into the Northern Footy League in the last couple of years, I certainly think it's just the way that the clubs have grown and the positive images that they display in their own marketplace. The work that people do behind the scenes is amazing. I mean, it's not as if you can just throw 40 or 50 guys out on the ground. There's a huge amount of work that needs to be done, but also it's full credit to the players. I mean, we get back, starting our pre-seasons now in early November, and we're asking these guys to train, 3 nights a week, and the way they're presenting themselves now certainly is a big difference to, I suppose, the way we presented ourselves at local level, going back 15, 20 years ago.
I genuinely stumbled across the training squad there on Wednesday night while I was taking the dog for a walk, and I love the intensity from the guys at training. It was great to see everybody going at full flight, but you're also assisted by Phil Plunkett, Jack Cole and Puffer Brandt, head coaches of 3 strong Northern Footy League sides in Montmorency, Bundoora and Puff doing some amazing work with McLeod and growing them organically. You're also the head coach of Northcote Park. Do you think the coaching squad that you've pulled together has helped build the enthusiasm, getting the players engaged?
Look, there's no doubt it has. I mean, one thing I want to put on record here is we've got some fantastic coaches, right across the Northern Footy League, and hopefully in the journey of time, all those guys get some opportunity to be involved with the rep side. But, to have 3 quality assistants like that really makes sure that we've got, all our players in the competition covered, and it obviously is extremely important, to have the big clubs involved. But one thing I've got to give real credit to is the actual players themselves. I mean, they've been screaming for rep footy for the last couple of years, and, the way that they've grasped and really want to be involved has just made my job so much easier.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good carrot, isn't it, Jason? I mean, obviously, particularly the Division 1 clubs of the NFL, they set very high standards, they play a big level of footy, but to go that step further and actually represent your league, I mean, that is, that's quite a decent carrot to put in front of the players, and I imagine they haven't needed a lot of enticing to be involved.
No, they've needed no enticing whatsoever. I mean, what I really get a kick out of is just the way that these guys mingle with each other. In some respects, we knock down some barriers and walls, and we just find out that these guys are like, other guys at your own footy clubs. They're good fellas. They're really hungry for some success, and they're dedicated to what they want to do. So, when you can put, 35, 40 of them out on a training field, you really see the class really come to the top.
And has there been any chatter about the actual possibility of representing the Metro footy side, the Vic Metro side? Do you think that's a bit of an enticing carrot for him as well?
Yeah, look, it's definitely huge. When we first met with the entire squad going back a couple of months ago, we certainly put that on the table. I mean, we need to be realistic that this is probably, it may well be the last time that these guys get to wear a Victorian jumper. And first and foremost, we're really hungry to have a win against the EDFL. And if we can get some guys selected in that Vic Metro squad, well, look, that'll be a real feather in their cap.
And look, just for the listeners, mate, is there any names that they should be looking out for at Visy Park on the 29th of March?
Look, we've obviously, got our league experienced players, Cloak and Dyson and Moorcroft, but I think you'll see some of our younger players really come to the fore, guys that probably haven't got the profiles of those players, Ryan Jackson and Nick Carter, Justin White, Trent Barbero, Cathelcore. I mean, I could name probably 25, 30 of them right now, and it probably wouldn't be that fair, but we really expect an even contribution from all of our players on game day. And
you're obviously the coach of Northcote Park, mate. Hal Hunter was a bloke that was mentioned earlier in our shows. How are you shaping up, and tout as flag favourites, mate?
I wouldn't go that far. Look, Hal's been a terrific addition to our footy club, coming back from an AFL system. I mean, he's a young, experienced leader already at our footy club, and, he's been leading all the running drills, and he's extremely vocal. We expect him to have a big year. But look, our expectations as a footy club are, we finished third last year, so we realise that we've got, some work to do. And, every year you have a turnover of players, but we think we've recruited really well and covered some deficiencies that we had. So, we're expecting a really consistent year.
Great stuff, Jason. Really appreciate you coming on. Can't wait for the NFL, EDFL going head-to-head on March 29 at Visy Park. All the best for that and for your coaching journey in 2014.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your support.
Jason Heatley, the former St Kilda spearhead who had a really good year. Was it under Stan Ells, I reckon, back in the late 90s?
Might have been 97. I think he might have kicked 70 or 80 goals in the season.
They made a prelim, the
I think he might have played in the flag. I think he might have played in the grand final.
They did too.
Yeah, they played in the grand final against Adelaide that year.
The Crows. You're not one that Jamie Shanahan wants to probably remember, but Darren Jarman certainly does. That's going to be a big clash as we head to the break. EDFL, NFL. It's a quality game.
It's massive, and I know a lot of the EDFL supporters really see their competition being the premier competition in Victoria.
Yep.
They lose this game, they go down a division. Northern could go up. So it could be a big decider, and there could be a whole lot of talking points and a whole lot of things where those players can actually have some talking points about how their club's better.
Absolutely. We'll take a break on the local locker room. Coming up next, we're going to go inside the EFL and the MOs, the VAFA, and look at their big top 10 as they look to go head-to-head. It's 29-4. This is the local locker room, thanks to sportsupport.com.au.
Morning Glory with Andrew Marr and Andrew Gaze.
It's been an absolutely massive week on Morning Glory. We've never heard anyone refer to Steve Johnson as Dogger before, and he joins us on the show. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Good morning, boys. Well, just a tight studio with you, Andrew Gaze and Gaze's head.
A lot of room.
That's not easy.
James Brayshaw is the chairman of the North Melbourne Football Club.
Hello, boys.
Garrett is a guy who puts the K in knob.
George Chaplin coming on there.
Please do.
Just disrespectful.
It is.
Behind closed doors, very, very arrogant man. Ordinary bloke. Very, very hairy man.
Oh, really?
One of the hairiest blokes I've ever seen.
We'll be back to do it all again tomorrow at 6. We'll see you then.
Morning Glory, weekdays 6 to 9 for the Holden SUV range, now with $1,000 free accessories. On 1116 SEN, Melbourne's home of sport.
2 years, zero interest on home appliances, technology and entertainment ends Monday at Harvey Norman. No deposit, no interest and no payments until February 2016. Approved applicants only. Minimum financed amount $300. Interest applies if you do not comply with terms and conditions. Fees, charges and exclusions apply. See website for details. Update for autumn. The biggest brands, the best deals. Last chance. 2 years, zero interest on technology, entertainment and home appliances. No deposit, no interest and no payments until February 2016. Ends Monday at Harvey Norman.
This week's SEN Inside Football has something for every footy fan. Ian Collins gives an insight into the AFL possibly buying Etihad Stadium to help save struggling clubs. We look at former Demon Colin Sylvia to see whether he could be Ross Lyon's vital cog and win a flag for Freo. And we examine every listed player for St Kilda, Sydney, West Coast and the Western Bulldogs before season kickoff. It's a must-read for fantasy footballers. SEN Inside Football for the fair dinkum footy fan. On sale at your news agent now or get it online at sen.com.au.
Are you thinking about wealth strategies to help maintain your lifestyle in retirement? If not, why not? Don't leave your retirement planning until it's too late.
Awarded as one of Australia's most respected financial advice firms, Shadforth provides financial planning, superannuation, self-managed super fund and insurance advice. Download your free retirement planning ebook at sfg.com.au.
Shadforth, 90 years of real wealth stories, generations of trust. Shadforth Financial Group Limited, AFSL 318613.
It's a well-known fact that ladies like a man who can make them laugh. And a date night at the Comics Lounge is the best way to make your lady laugh. Dinner, drinks and the very best stand-up comedians from Australia and around the world. She'll have a great time and you'll get the fringe benefits. Call the Comics Lounge right now and book in your date night. Save 20% with the promo code Date Night. The best stand-up comedy in town, 6 nights a week, 52 weeks a year. The Comics Lounge, Errol Street, North Melbourne. thecomicslounge.com.au.
Get out and play! Struggling to get onto the links? Hop into the House of Golf and check out some hot new arrivals. Off the tee, we have the Ping I-25, Nike Covert 2.0 and Exotics XCG7 Woods. From the fairways, you'll love the feel of the Mizuno H4 or the refinement of the Callaway Apex irons. And around the greens, try the new Cleveland RTX Wedge or counterbalance putters from TaylorMade or Ping. You're always welcome at the House of Golf. Oh yeah! Get out and play. The countdown is on. There's 5 days to go. 5 days to go.
SEN Football is ready to go.
The 2014 Toyota AFL Premiership season starts this Friday with Collingwood and Fremantle from Etihad Stadium. 1116 SEN, Melbourne's home of footy. On 1116 SEN, Sunday Sports Central with Brett Phillips for 1 free cabs, your cab booking company, and Tobin Brothers Funerals, celebrating lives.
Live sport at the moment, Bendigo 25, Townsville 17, WNBL Grand Final, 0-0 Wellington and Perth. In the A-League, it is the Adelaide Thunderbirds, 46, leading the Queensland Firebirds, 40. That is live in the netball. It was the Tigers and the Vixens, the two Melbourne teams, both with big wins earlier today. This is the local locker room with Ben Charles from sportsupport.com.au in the studio. Now, the last few weeks, of course, we've heard from Punt Club about how the club could share in $10,000 in prizes for just being involved with the 2014 Punters Club Cup. We've also heard from Dane Swan, of course, Benny. Just tell us a bit more about it, because we're going to get Jamie O'Keefe up in just a tick.
Yeah, he just wanted to get on and chat about how his quest for Group 1 glory and how he and ex-teammate Dale Thomas want the local footy club to be involved in a part of the ride, I suppose. So,
okay.
Yeah, so today we've actually got a hold of one of the more successful stories that come out of the Punt Club. Yep. A group of mates who are now living in separate states, brought together by Punt Club, and the group captain and a local journey footyman in himself, in his own right, Jamie O'Keefe. He joins us today. Thanks for joining us, Jamie.
No worries at all, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Mate, we understand that you've played footy, local footy in every state of Australia. Is that right?
every mainland state, mate. Far too cold in Tassie for me.
That's fair enough then. And so this club itself, it's a little more unique than most, I suppose. It brings others together from every state. This group, was it formed by a whole heap of guys that you knew at the clubs that you played at?
Yeah, well, it's probably I'm the common link amongst them. As I said, I played with a couple of clubs in New South Wales, played in Vic and WA while I was in the Navy, and played Amos in South Australia, and you blokes will be happy to hear I played against the Vics once at Elstonwick Park, and we copped an absolute flogging. Played at Coolangatta and Cooperoo up in Queensland, and played with St Mary's and the Banks Bulldogs in Darwin. And so we've got 16 in our club. 10 of the boys are in Darwin, 3 in Melbourne, 2 in Adelaide, and I'm in Sydney currently.
So you guys just sort of chip in a weekly amount, and then what happens throughout the year?
We have 16 of us putting in $25 a week, so we bet half and bank half. Every week we're banking $200 win, lose or draw on the punt. We set our club up just to back on horses on a Saturdays. We didn't want blokes wasting $200 on the Commonwealth Games swimming, as happened initially. So we straightened it up, and we go to the Cox Plate every year.
Geez, that's
great stuff. I mean, this is a no-brainer really for footy clubs, Jamie, isn't it? The hardest bit of running a footy club is to form different, ways of, generating income and fundraising. I mean, this seems to me the one that certainly can work without it being, too risky, if you like.
Oh, look, it's not, and the best thing about it is you don't have to chase blokes for money. It's all done online. It's all handled through the club, through Punt Club, the website itself, which is fantastic. And for us, there's only one of the boys that's still playing footy. And as you get older and you stop playing, you want to keep in touch with the boys, or you want to have a link back to your old footy club. And we sort of worked out that it was, apart from the odd hatch match or dispatch, you didn't catch up that often. So we wanted to have a yearly catch up, which didn't involve one of us in a pine box.
Yeah, fair enough too. How long's this been running for, mate? It seems like it's pretty successful.
Mate, look, we're into our 4th year, and you're $25 a week for us, for our club, and we've had, we've got some absolute mud punters, so a couple of guys that go all right, but that got us, the 10 boys from Darwin, myself from Sydney, and the guys from Adelaide, all flown into Melbourne, 2 nights accommodation, tickets to the Cox Plate, and we go reserve grandstand seating. And last year we had about $8,000 to punt with. It was left over after everything was paid for, and we walked out with 10 and a half, I think. So went to a pub for dinner and split it and gave everyone $500 each back at the end of the night. So it was a very successful year.
Beautiful stuff. For details, of course, on the 2014 Punters Club, you can just head to www.sportsupport.com.au. Click on the Punter Cup tile. That'll take you through to all the information that you need. Jamie, it sounds successful. I reckon a few clubs will log on there, and good to hear that's all going well.
Fantastic, fellas. Thanks for having me. And look, you're mad if you don't. It's a great website, and it's a great thing, great way to stay in touch with your mates.
Good on you. Jamie O'Keefe there from Punt Club joining us here on the local locker room. Now, Benny, the nominees for the local locker room Hall of Fame from the VAFA and the Eastern Footy League. We've had an amazing response over the last week.
We have, mate. And look, last week we had a little over 200 votes. This week we had over 500 votes. So it was a huge step up. And for a social media campaign, I must say that is very, very big numbers.
And they would have known about the $500 on offer, the sports voucher.
Yeah, maybe that enticed a few more people to get on. I'm not too sure.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to announce the winners in just a moment. But first, we're going to shortlist the VAFA's top 10 from the last 15 years, and we've got their General Manager of Media and Communications, Andrew Leonard, joining us here on the local locker room. G'day, Andrew.
G'day, Brett. G'day, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well.
Nice to talk to you. Now, let's run through this list, Andrew, of the best of the MOs.
Rightio. More esteemed judges than I contributed to this list, so hopefully people aren't pointing fingers if anyone misses out. But starting in no particular order, Danny Byrne from St Bernard's made the list, who was a dominant performer and had the ability to win the ball wherever he was on the ground. So an A-grade premiership player. He won the Doc Nelson Medal, which is like the Norm Smith in that grand final win in 2002. Was also the club best and fairest and a multiple Big V state representative. Number 2, or not in order, we also have Tim Ockleshaw, gun midfielder at the time across 2 decades really, in 2 periods, because he had a 3-year break overseas. Played in 7 A-grade premierships, 95, 6, 7, 8. And then 2003, 2005 and 2007. Won the Jock Nelson Medal in 03, club best and fairest in 03 and 06. Club captain, was a regular Big V state representative. So obviously a lot easier for us. I know that the other associations and leagues don't have as much rep put in the last year, but we of course have a team every single year.
Yep.
Much easier. Ben Dowd from St Kevin's, Old Boys, has made the list as well, over 150 games at St Kevin's. A gun at state level, absolute gun at state footy. And he makes the list despite playing most of his time in the last 10 years in Premier B. Andrew Ramsden from Old Trinity, who's just one of the VAFA legends, over 300 amateur games. He's a ruckman that became a forward and has won best in competition, best and fairest in both Premier B and in A-grade or Premier competition. And of course, was state captain from 2002 to 2004 and multiple state games of football. Cam Howard from Old Carey makes the list. For the last 5 years, has just been one of the premier running midfielders in the competition. Just an elite player and has always been a star at state level. He's 5-time state representative but also a state captain against the EFL in 2012 when we last played them. Brett Voss from Old Haileybury, the former Saint, had an immediate impact on the VAFA and Old Haileybury and was, for a time there, even though they were playing in Premier B, could be argued he was the best player in the competition. He was the state captain in 2009 and a multiple state representative, and he's also coaching our second senior side, our Premier Beta Division 4 representative side that'll play against the country in July this year. Jack Watts from University Blues, ruckman who won a Woodrow medal, was about a 19 or 20-year-old regular state performer and state captain last year, who's also in the squad. Nick Wynn from Old Bavarians, dashing halfback, played in 3 A-grade premierships, club best and fairest in 09, a premiership year, and a Big V state representative, one of the first picks every time. And Ross Young, who's been a gun at the end of 2 decades, was one of the best players in the competition in 03 and in 04, one of the best and fairest when Uni Blues won their A-grade premiership in 2004, and came back to the club after winning a Sandover medal in Perth this year to win last year to win another best and fairest 10 years since he won his first one. So just a gun player. And the final player, Nick Reese from Collegians, the former Hawk, who led the club to the second of their back-to-back premierships, also played in the 2011 premiership and is also a state rep. So that's our top 10.
There's a
we think it's pretty good.
There's a massive amount of talent there, and there's a huge number of premierships between them. There's a huge number of state representative players that are in there. Not a lot of AFL players that are mixed in there, of course. Brett Voss being the only name that really struck me as an AFL player.
Well, Nick Reese played about 80 games at Hawthorn. I think Cam Howard played about 30 at Richmond. Ross Young played 6 at Carlton. So all of them have dabbled in AFL football, I think, but not necessarily had the big, long careers.
But not only that, you've managed to put together a top 10 list here very, very quickly. I'll run through this. This is from the VAFA since the year 2000, and all these players would obviously be really disappointed that they've missed out on the Hall of Fame nominee, of course. But you've got Robert Harvey from Old Hailbury, Stuart Lowe from Old Hailbury, Adam Uze from Old Carey, Heath Black from Mazenod, Jason Johnson from Uni Blacks, Russell Robinson from Monash, James McDonald, Old Zavs, Lindsay Gilby from Old Scotch, Nick Holland from Old Carey, Matt Robbins from Ormond, Stephen Salopek from St Kevin's, and Trent Coe from DISL. I mean, that's an amazing list that's gone through there to play local footy.
Well, they were all sort of around the 200-game mark, premiership players, and obviously a couple of Brownlows there for Robert Harvey's, all Australian selections as well for a few of them. So, no, we didn't include those in our top 10. We chose players that had given a lot more to amateur level and had played rep footy, and that was one of the key cornerstones. And I realise you're doing this for the representative side, but it makes it easier when we've got a rep team every year, and these players get to play at the highest level in representing football each season.
Great stuff. Thank you, Andrew. Comprehensive. Of course, voting starts now, works through until next Saturday, 11:59am. Just head to sportsupport.com.au. Click on the Facebook link. I'm sure you'll have a few questions asked tomorrow, who's in, who's not, but that's what this stuff is all about. It's quite subjective. Really appreciate you coming on, and all the best for the VAFA and the upcoming Metro Championships.
Yeah, I know Ben's coming on. Let's hope the VAFA have a big win over the EFL. I better get that in.
Thank you very much. Rivalry aplenty. Andrew Leonard. We can go straight to Ben Waterworth, of course, media manager of the Eastern Football League. Ben, welcome.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and just like Andrew Leonard always likes to give us a bit of a clip at the end. Very nice and cheeky.
All right, your top 10, Ben, of the past 15 years for the EFL.
Yeah, it's a really hard list to put together, guys, but I've gone at number 1, Ryan Mullett from Vermont. I reckon the most exciting and explosive player of the past 15 years. A 2-time Chandler medalist, the equivalent of our Brownlow, captain of the SEN Division 1 team of the year 4 times. He's a superstar. Number 2, we've got Nick Cox, formerly of Bayswater and South Belgrave. Probably didn't get the credit he deserved, as Bayswater probably wasn't a gun side in the early 2000s. Yet he stood out. He won the 2000 Chandler medal. And number 3, Denis Knight from Noble Park. He's currently the coach of Norwood in Division 1. Probably the most complete footballer we've seen in the EFL for the past 10 years, purely because he's a great outside and inside player. He won the 2003 Chandler medal. Matt Gregor's a name synonymous with the EFL from Vermont. Undoubtedly the best forward of the past 15 years. Over 700 goals and a very, very accurate left foot. Number 5, Daniel Donati, the coach of he used to play for Noble Park, but a dual premiership coach with Bournemouth in the past couple of years. The quintessential goal-kicking midfielder, really hurt sides going forward. You had to pay him plenty of respect. And number 6, Todd Power, probably the best defender of the past 15 years. Very organised, had a really cool head, and very reliable, both with the ball in hand and one-on-one when he was with his opponent in defence. Craig Anderson from Noble Park at number 7, an inspirational player, explosive player as well, similar to Mullett, but just racks up plenty of the ball. He's also won 2 Chandler medals in 2007 and 2011, and captain Noble Park to back-to-back flags in 2010 and 2011. And number 8, Bernie Denis from Vermont, and more recently Bayswater and East Ringwood. Off the field, prepared himself to a T. One of the most intense players I think we've ever seen in the Eastern Football League in his preparation, and on the field he just works his butt off to rack up the footy. He's also a dual Chandler medalist, and he also won a James medal, which is our Division 2 best and fairest. And number 9, Wade Porter from East Ringwood, one of the best pinpoint kicks in the Eastern Footy League. He could hit a dime from 45 metres away. He was that accurate. And at number 10, the burly Adam Slater from Eastfield and Forestfield, probably the best ruckman, I reckon, of the past 15 years. An absolute mountain of a man, gentlemen. He really used his body well to outmaneuver opposition players. Really smart ruckman, but I think more importantly, was able to go forward and hurt sides on the scoreboard when he went forward. They're the top 10. Very, very difficult to leave some players out, guys.
Absolutely.
Quite a few players there have been mentioned from Vermont and Noble Park. Obviously, these two clubs, along with Baldwin, have been really dominant in finals of the last decade. Do you see any sides breaking up that upper echelon this year in 2014?
Yeah, I mentioned Denis Knight's Norwood just previously. I reckon Norwood are a sneaky chance. They picked up a couple of good recruits over the pre-season. They picked up Jordan Gisbert straight off an AFL list, and Matthew Bate, of course, former player at Melbourne. They've also picked up Dean Poynton from the Sandful and Connor O'Sullivan, a very good ruckman at the Eastern Rangers. So Norwood might be the team that surprises. They finished 4th last year. Maybe they just might mix it with the big boys this year and finish in that top 3.
Now, Benny, just one last one for you. I mean, the EFL, SEN, are very closely aligned. Of course, Bush and the Burbs on a Thursday night as well, which is a great program during the footy season, part of Finey's show. I mean, the EFL, you've been the leader in certainly interactive media and the clubs in particular with good websites and so forth. I mean, it's vital, isn't it, that clubs out there have good communications to their members and to the outside public to draw people towards their club.
Oh, no doubt, BP. Couldn't have said it any better. And it's not just club websites, but you see clubs even getting in through apps these days, communicating through apps, also through social media, Facebook and Twitter, which I know Sports Support are using to poll votes at the moment. So vitally important for community football clubs that they get their message out there through as many platforms as possible.
Terrific stuff, Ben. It's a good list. It'll be hotly debated, no doubt. Good luck for the EFL for the upcoming Metro Champs on March 29 out there at Visy Park.
Good on you, boys. Thanks for your support.
Ben Waterworth, one of the best going around. Good young man, of course. Called a game of footy here on SCN. Future star. Benny, as we wrap up, anything to leave us with?
Mate, we've got to just name these top 3 from the EDFL and the Northern Footy League. So, again, that huge response. It's been great. Countdown for the EDFL. We have the 3 new inductees, and this will be posted up on the website. First was the Marby champion, Heath Ayres. He'll be probably playing for the WRFL this year, but he could have almost featured in the NFL as well. Little champion. Some heavy voting between Rabi and Denis himself, who we had on earlier, taking out the award. Denis, you won with 78 votes, with Rabi with 52, so Green Vale will be up for that $500 voucher. So now we go to the NFL. Some really interesting feedback through the social media site. There was a lot of debate about who should have been in there and who shouldn't have been in there. Have to send out an apology to Matty Ahmad and Brett Hancock. Dale Nolan, we whacked him on a little bit late to keep the people at the Den happy. Just to name the players who polled, we had Heidelberg champion there, Blair Harvey. He was second. Third was Trevor Robinson from Bundoora. Been mentioned plenty of times in this show. The winner, and he's collected a $500 sports bet. I've got no doubt that it'll be for Northcote Park, Joey Ahmad. So well done, Joey Ahmad. But those 6 guys are all inducted into the Hall of Fame. All
right, great stuff. The voting, of course, for the EFL and VAFA top 3 is started. You can just jump onto sportsupport.com.au. Click on the Facebook link to start voting. Thank you, mate, for coming in. We'll do it again next week.
You can hardly wait.
Yeah, that is Ben Charles, of course, for the local locker room. We'll take a break. Plenty to come here on Sunday's Sports Central.